I'm Irene Gunter from Gunter Co Interiors. Welcome to my home in Wimbledon. Please come in. As I said, we're in Wimbledon. I live here with my husband Ian and our two boys, Basil and Oscar. We did the building works around 4 years ago, and we really use it as an opportunity to have loads of fun with colour, experiment in ways that we may not have been able to do on client projects. And so I'd love to show you around and explain what we did with colour and in terms of experimenting in our home. Please follow me. I'm going to show you into the main living area. So this is the main ground floor of the house, which is divided up into the living room on my right, the dining room over here, and then the kitchen at the front. We spent time throughout the whole floor really. We really deliberately wanted to put the living room at the back of the house because we have this amazing big green garden, which living in London we feel really lucky to have, and we wanted to enjoy that view as much as possible. So we very consciously decided to put the kitchen at the front. Let me take you through there and I'll talk you through the kitchen. This is the kitchen, and what you'll notice straight away is quite a big mix of different materials. So we've got 3 types of grey-blue paint on here. I've got 2 tones of wood, one on the island and one on our main pantry unit. And that's something that I really love to do, combining materials and making a space feel really interesting and diverse and not super monotonous. So by having these different materials, it just adds a lot of personality and depth, and it doesn't make it feel like a generic standard kitchen. And that's something that we love to experiment with. So we went pretty crazy here with these 3D curved tiles. We've got some lovely textures in the stone, and then we have at the front as well some really nice bistro curtains to just give us a bit of privacy from the street, but to be able to enjoy the view out to the green trees. The way this space works for us as a family of 4 is the main cooking happens over here on this side, and we wanted the island to be really functional but not to look too heavy and blocky. So you'll see on one side we've got some bar stools, and on the other side we've got drawers that just lift it a little bit off the floor. What we have inside is some really nice bottle storage, so all the bottles for oils and vinegar that I used to have on the worktop are neatly tidied away per different sector. We've got our food waste in here, which I won't show you, but it's just all neatly tidied away, and it means that this area is very much the heavy cooking area. When my husband and I are cooking, the guests or the kids can come and make themselves a drink over on that side where we've got a breakfast bar, fridge, tea and coffee making station, and that works really well because it separates the more busy area from an area where people might just be popping into a kitchen to help themselves to a quick drink. Another drawer that we love and use all the time in this kitchen island is our charging drawer. So iPads, phones, it all just gets put in here when we come home from work, charged for the night, and it's just tidied away. This is our pantry and breakfast bar. You'll see we've got glass all over, but it's a slightly mottled handmade glass because I wanted to be able to see what I had without it looking overly cluttered. So this works really well. And then over here we have our tea, coffee making station. We've got our kind of tea and coffee in these secret hidden drawers, which are really nice. And with the lighting, it just creates a really lovely atmosphere, makes it very inviting for guests and family to use, and it allows them to have this own standalone area within the kitchen without having to interfere with anyone who's cooking. Throughout the kitchen you'll see a texture that repeats itself, so you'll have the curved detail on the tiles. We've got the same rib detail over here, and that is interpreted in a slightly different way on the glass. And it just adds a really nice sense of texture and personality and coziness, because often kitchens are thought about in very practical ways, but it is where we spend so much of our time as a family. So it was really important to me that it was a cozy, warm space that felt inviting, and you wouldn't mind spending 5 hours on a Sunday doing a massive bit of batch cooking. Oh, I almost forgot to show you, we've got a little secret ladder to get onto those hard to reach shelves. Let me show you. So it's nice and thin, and then you open it like any normal step ladder with a bit of difficulty, like this. These doors have a really interesting story. We had seen the house and we weren't 100% sure we were going to get it, but we'd also had this idea about these doors here and wanting to have something period with some kind of character and patina. So we found these on a website in the Netherlands and we bought the doors before we even bought the house. So we got them shipped here and they were a horrible kind of dark reddy brown colour. We stripped them back and now they look really lovely. So our dining room is in the middle of the house, and the obvious downside is we've got lovely bright light in the living room, lovely quality of light in the kitchen, but in the middle it can be a little bit dark and gloomy. So rather than trying to fight it, we thought, how can we make this feel really warm and cozy and just embrace the fact that it's a little bit less light filled. So we went with this beautiful dark green colour, which is the Botanist, and it's a really nice rich warm green, which I think really makes the space come together, and it works in the summer. It works obviously super well at Christmas when we've got all the decorations out. And we've added this nice rib texture that you can see here. I have a little thing about not loving plastered painted walls. I think they show wear and tear quite quickly. So where we can and where we've been able to afford some kind of paneling or some kind of texture, I just think it's much more forgiving. So in this case, we've got some fluted paneling and it wraps very nicely around the curved walls that we have as well. And it just gives a really nice level of detail and texture and adds some depth to this space. When it comes to lighting the dining room, we always like to do a bit of a dual approach. So we've got these really cool pendants, but sometimes we don't even have those on. Sometimes we'll just have the spotlights on for some general lighting, and it allows you to have some really nice kind of mood feeling in the evening or during the day. When I've lost my earring, I can whack them all on and really see what I'm looking for. Obviously table lamps on the sideboard, it's just, you know, a bit of a given, but it's a nice cozy feeling at night. We've got all our cutlery and the kids' board games stored there. We've got all the birthday celebration things in there, so it's all easily accessible, and it just gives a really nice surface for some decorations. When it comes to the art in this space, it's a bit of a mix. So this is actually something my mum made on the right-hand side, which is a bit of a mixed media. And on the left is a lovely painting that we found during our kind of travels through London. And we just think it makes the space feel really personal and, you know, something we love. Another bit of magic that I tried was to hide the high chairs as much as possible. So you can see that we have these fairly standard trip-trap chairs, but we had them sprayed to match the wall colour exactly. So hopefully that makes them disappear. I'm sure it's not invisible to you, but I did my best. This is our living room, and we've divided it up into two separate areas. So over here you have the more library side, and the reason we did that is because the space was quite generous and we thought just one living area would feel a little bit spare and empty. Over here we have the main area that allows us to watch TV. We've got this lovely library built around it, which hides printers, AV equipment, all sorts. And behind this fabric panel, we've got some lovely speakers. So that does all the functionality of it. But to me, the main thing that makes this living room a really happy place is all the colors that we've been able to play with, from, you know, the woodwork, the fabrics, the art. It all feels really true to me and the colors I love. And I think as long as you've got art and fabrics and cushions, and that all expresses how you want to feel in that space, that goes a really long way to making a house into a home. The way that we put these patterns together is to really think about the scale and the types of patterns. So on the sofa, we've got a much smaller geometric pattern. These cushions are of a much bigger scale, and then we've got some other fabrics that are much more organic and loose in terms of their pattern. So mixing patterns is absolutely doable, but you just need to be conscious that you don't have too many of the same scale and with a very similar pattern. There needs to be enough difference that each of them can be their own little hero within a space where you throw them all together. On the other side of the room, we have this additional seating area with what I call my grandparent chairs. So these are a little bit higher and more supportive for when our parents come to visit. And this is a beautiful sofa that allows you to look both ways. So either inwards to enjoy the conversation or out to enjoy the lovely garden view. And then just reminding you of the fact that the TV was the main point of focus of the other sofa. So let me show you where that is. So we decided to hang this movable piece of art to hide the TV for obvious reasons. And it doesn't need to be, you know, super elaborate, automated. In fact, I quite like that it's manual because it can't go wrong. But it just allows us to hide it from view and make the living room feel a little bit more grown up when we want to. So in our garden, we very consciously wanted to make sure that we wouldn't be looking at the back of our garden furniture from the living room. So we've got this nice kind of wild green area here. We've got our water feature, and that leads you to this main seating area where we have our kind of lunches and dinners on the weekends outside when it's lovely weather. Then we've got our small lawn area for the boys to play football and the playhouse. And then at the back, we've got our garden studio where we had our office for a little while during COVID, but now that's become a bit of a home gym and just hangout area for the kids. So it is lovely that we have this amazing garden in London. You know, on a lovely summer's day, we decide not to go to the beach. We just hang out here, have friends over. We've got the barbecue, pizza oven, and it's just a really lovely place to be. Now we're back inside, going from the dining space back to the hallway. So under the staircase here, we have our arched door, which I very specifically did because otherwise we would have had a weird wonky door. And inside we've got a really lovely combination of these Zalige tiles, which wrap all around the space, and a really nice wallpaper which goes up and over and just gives us a bit of unexpected fun, and also super practical because the walls are tiled. So it's pretty bulletproof with two boys at home. Back in the hallway, we have this really nice mansion weave floor with two different types of stone. And the main thing I love is our walls. So these are big sheets of veneered oak. And it just means that when we're running up and down the stairs, luggage, toys, kids running around, it's super durable and it gives this lovely warm feel to the space. The other thing that works really well for us as a family are these big kind of amounts of storage with lovely doors to hide all the coats and shoes. So we were able to do that by stealing a tiny bit of space at the kitchen next door, but it works super well. Then over here are my kids' reminders of how to get ready before school, which is very interactive and it does a good job of getting them ready on time. Let's head upstairs and have a look at the bedrooms. Now we're on the first floor. Let me show you around our master suite. The kind of main thing I love about this space is our lovely patterned wallpaper, which just really gives us a sense of individuality. And I've always had it on my wish list since I started out as a designer. So it was a bit of a pinch me moment to finally have a space where I could use it and see it every day. And we tied that together with some lovely colors of kind of burnt oranges on the headboard, some green details in the bedspread. And yeah, it's just a really happy place for us. A few nice details in here are this lovely mirror, which really helps bounce the light around. We didn't really have a spot for a full height mirror in our dressing room, so this works really well. We've got some lovely textures on the fluted pattern on our coving. And in general, we just like working with natural materials. So my background coming from Europe is wooden floors in bedrooms. So that's something that we've repeated here again. Some lovely linen and cotton fabrics on the headboard, which just feel really nice and textured and just add a sense of layers of coziness to the space. Obviously this is the bedroom, and right next door is our open plan dressing space. So in this room, we decided to use a lovely pink color, add fabric padding to the space because not having any carpets or rugs, it's important to think about the acoustics. So adding the fabrics in this way just introduces a lovely fun pattern as well as a really nice textural quality, and it just feels like a really nice place to be. So this is our main bathroom, and what I love about this space so much is the beautiful marble slab that we found to clad the bath in. And it was quite useful to really think through how we're going to make the most out of that one slab. So from the cutout of the bathtub, we then made the vanity top. And from the cutout of the basin, we were able to use the leftover pieces of stone for these two really cute shelves over here. And that really set the tone for the whole bathroom. So we took some inspiration from that green marble and we used this lovely green mosaic on the floor. And we then have the waterproof Tadalact in our shower, which is just a lovely kind of texture to allow you not to have tiles in a wet space, but just to add a nice sense of color as well. And then the other kind of main overwhelming feature of this bathroom is the wooden walls. So that's something that I grew up with and something that I've always wanted to repeat. So we've got these really nice hidden cupboards that sit on this mirrored wall. And what it just allows us to do is have waterproof walls to a certain degree, obviously minor splashes allowed, but it's just a really nice, warm, comfy feeling. And we added these little Japanese details that are just bronze butterflies to really create a nice pattern and a sense of irregularity to just bounce your eye around the room and really take in all the different textures and details that we've achieved. So this is Basil's room right next door to ours, and there is so much I love about this space, so many details. I could talk for ages. He has this amazing window seat with all his toys storage below and this really cute llama trim that just gives it a really nice kiddie feel. And obviously, as he grows up, we could remove that and make it a little bit more grown up. But for now, it works really well. We have a really lovely kind of pale blue pattern that repeats in the wallpaper, the curtains, the woodwork, and it just ties the room together really well. It gives it quite a lot of personality despite the wallpaper being quite light and airy. And then over here we have his wardrobes. So we wanted them to have a really nice sense of personality. So we have these teddy bear cutouts in the handles. Over here we have my main design mistake. I had bought this mirror, which is a lovely sculptural piece for our master suite, but it just didn't work there. So luckily I ended up figuring out that it fits here perfectly. On paper I would have never chosen it because it's too big for the space, but in reality it works really well. And his little head just pops over the bottom, but you know, he'll grow into it. The starting point for the color scheme was very much inspired by this Tintin poster. The reds and the blues just give a really great sense of joy and cheerfulness. So we had that as our anchoring point, and the whole kind of room scheme was built up around that. Ian, my husband, and I, we grew up in Belgium. The writer is obviously Belgian, so that reminds us of being with our family. So I'm taking you into Basil's bathroom, which is right off his bedroom. We're repeating the same lovely red and blue color scheme in here. And again, the kind of durability pattern goes throughout the house. So we've got really nice tongue and groove walls with tiles below that become full height tiles in the bathroom. And despite this room being very small on paper, it all works perfectly. So using some cardboard boxes during the design process, I knew that even though on plan it didn't work, in reality, I can just about fit through here. And then when it comes to getting into the shower, having the window here is really helpful. And these black, lovely accents that we have on the shower and on the shower screen really give it a nice kind of modern masculine feel. So right now we're gonna go to the top floor. So up here we've got our bathroom, guest bedroom, and over here is another one of my boys' bedrooms, and honestly you don't really want to see what's inside. Let me take you in here. So this is the place where I guests stay. We really love this idea of having a small patterned wallpaper because it's under the eaves, there's lots of nooks and crannies, and it just allows you to introduce a pattern and a sense of coziness without it feeling overbearing. The other detail that I love in this space is, even though it's quite a small room, we still managed to find a way to have some bedside tables. So we have these floating shelves that are hidden by the books. And then over here, it's just a really nice surface when guests arrive. I've got water, I've got all kind of lots of spare products that they might have forgotten, paracetamol, all of those bits and bobs. And it just allows them to put their clothes out. There's a wardrobe over there, an armchair, kind of ticks all the boxes. So that's the video tour. Thank you so much for following me around. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you want to see a little bit more about our designs, have a look in the description below or follow us on Instagram at Gunter Co. Have a lovely day. Bye.